the large-scale war intensified. Across the land of Fremons, the mechanical civilization's actions had never been as frenzied as they were today. Across the entire Fremons region, mechanical life forms swarmed from the ground like ants. The newly emerged units were no longer the engineering drones solely focused on excavating the earth. Instead, they were combat units that would actively attack any humans detected near their work zones. Battle reports poured in relentlessly. Dozens of alerts echoed across Fremons daily. Were it not for Fremons' vast, sparsely populated terrain, where most regions had become uninhabited wastelands, the High Command in Prodaja and elsewhere would surely be at their wits' end. Yet they showed little panic, for everything remained firmly within their grasp. Other regions could fall, so long as their own strongholds remained secure. As for ordinary people, a few casualties were insignificant. With their current scientific capabilities, they could rapidly increase the population whenever conditions permitted. A single administrative order could instantly boost birth rates hundreds of times over. Thus, they would only turn the escalating conflict into a tool for their own gain. On Prodaja's side, they began mass deploying their mutant forces to various regions for conquest. Per prior agreement, when demon god-level energy reactions occurred, only teams possessing bishop-level or higher-tier black chariot-level mutants would engage in combat. Lower-level energy reaction zones, however, were left for mutant teams from nations of lesser strength to handle. This approach maximized their profits. By now, over 30 mutant forces had gathered at Fremons. Lured by rumors of riches, they were itching for battle, eager to reap massive rewards from the mechanical civilization. Thus, they responded to the call, eagerly rushing to the battlefield to engage the Mechanical Legion. With the experience gained from previous battles by various mutant teams, confronting these mechanical life forms again proved somewhat less challenging. As long as they didn't encounter exceptionally large mechanical legions, the teams could indeed handle the situation. Of course, this was also due to deliberate arrangements by Fremons. On this particular day, two teams of mutants from technologically advanced, sparsely populated Nordic nations were conducting a joint operation. They had wiped out a small mechanical legion, successfully eliminating one supersized mechanical life form and over 5,000 mass-produced units. Though the battle had been brutal, nearly half their personnel had fallen, and even 2 Epsilon-level mutants were wounded, yet, surveying the spoils scattered across the battlefield, a flicker of excitement still stirred within them. Collect the spoils immediately. The most critical items are their energy sources. As for the other parts, they will be handed over to Fremon's engineering unit for subsequent processing. An Epsilon commander issued the order to his subordinates with cool precision. But just then, one of his Epsilon subordinates rushed over, his expression grave as he reported, "Commander, a peculiar energy signature has been detected beneath this ground." Hearing this, the Epsilon commander, Harland, frowned sharply. He feared enemy reinforcements had arrived. He immediately called out to Namoro, an Epsilon from another nation, relaying the news and requesting his assistance. Facing a colossal mechanical life form, neither of them possessed the strength to handle it alone. Namoro arrived nearby and cautiously examined the sunken ground alongside Harland. This area had already been excavated over 3,000 meters deep by the excavators of mechanical civilization. No one knew what lay beneath. Only after thorough preparation did the two descend underground. Namoro's power lay in manipulating the earth. Pressing his palms against the ground, immense supernatural energy surged around him like a storm. Instantly, the earth beneath his feet began to violently tremble. Rumble! The earth shattered, sending rocks and dirt flying. Harland's right hand curved back slightly, a terrifying energy sphere already coalescing in his palm. Should a formidable enemy appear, he would strike instantly. Yet the anticipated adversary never materialized. The next moment, a yellow light source slowly rose from the pile of debris. It was a stone weighing several thousand pounds, emitting a soft yellow glow. That light carried a mystical power, the kind that could penetrate deep into the marrow of a mutant. In an instant, it captured Harland and Namoro's gaze, holding them captive, unable to look away. This aura. It's the divine source. What they had unearthed from beneath the earth was none other than the source of God, a treasure capable of enabling mutants to transcend their life tears, a true gem in this apocalyptic age. Almost simultaneously, Harlan and Namoro snapped back to reality, lunging at each other to seize it. Harlan was a split second too late. The ore containing the source of God was already cradled in the arms of Namoro, who wielded control over the earth. Harlan's expression darkened. The energy sphere in his palm flickered with an intimidating glow as he addressed Namoro with a faint, mocking smile. "You wouldn't be thinking of keeping this for yourself, would you?" Both nations' teams of mutants were small, and they had chosen to temporarily cooperate solely to maximize their gains. Having obtained such a valuable item, Namoro certainly had no intention of sharing it. Successfully bringing it back would mean his nation gaining another Epsilon-level mutant. Their competitiveness in that region of Nordic Europe would also be greatly enhanced. Namoro's lips curled upward, his smile now twisted with excitement. This divine source has fused with the ore. Even if extracted, it would likely only be enough for one person. So I've decided to keep it. However, for the other spoils of this raid, I can give you an extra 30%. Harlan's eyes flashed coldly as the energy sphere in his hand instantly targeted Namoro. A terrifying energy cannon pierced the space between them. This strike unleashed his full might. Faced with such immense profit, this loose alliance proved utterly unreliable. Yet Namoro was prepared for Harlan's attack. His body instantly merged with the earth, swiftly transforming into a serpentine dragon beneath the ground before vanishing. "Ha ha ha. I knew you'd do that. But sorry, it's too late now." His earth-diving ability gave him a significant advantage in ground combat. Now that he had the item, why waste time fighting Harlan? He surfaced directly, gathered his men, and swiftly departed the battlefield via earth diving. Harlan roared in fury, but there was nothing he could do about it. "Damned bastard. If you won't play by the rules, I won't let you off easy." Gritting his teeth, he immediately used the communication channel to broadcast the news of Namoro obtaining the source of God to everyone in the chat group. Zhang Yi glanced at the group message. The source of God? He felt a flicker of interest. Though less versatile than the spirit of sacrifice, each the source of God signified the emergence of a new Epsilon-tier mutant. However, Zhang Yi had his own principles. He wouldn't go snatch the source of God from someone who held no grudge against him, especially at such a critical juncture. His focus, however, was on Harlan's message. Because according to Harlan, the location where the source of God was obtained was beneath the ground excavated by the Mechanical Legion. Could it be? That's what they've been searching for. The group chat erupted. No wonder those bastards dug up Fremon's land so relentlessly. There was treasure like this buried underground. So, eliminating the mechanical life forms not only yields advanced tech and new energy crystals, but also divine source. Nearly every mutant unit went wild. Technological breakthroughs would take time, but divine source could forge an Epsilon-tier mutant. That was a tangible reality. The members in the group chat tagged Mr. Perdaja's ID name. "We Dekshas demand immediate execution of the next mission." Another said, "Mr. Perdaja, we Peercams demand the same." "Me too. Me too." Leaders of small and medium-sized nations vied to join the campaign. Zhang Yi sensed something amiss. Mechanical life forms followed a different path than mutants. Their cores were the purest spirit of sacrifice. Why would they mobilize on such a massive scale for mere the source of God? Something was definitely off. The source of God held considerable allure for Zhang Yi. After all, no one would object to adding an Epsilon-tier mutant to their team. Yet he was always cautious in his actions. Sensing something amiss, he naturally wouldn't rush into anything. Both Harlan and Namoro were mutants whose ability indexes only reached the white chariot level. Their actions seemed far too effortless. Remember, when Zhang Yi's group and the Brahmin mutants led by Emperor Indra first arrived at Fremons, they had endured fierce battles. While Zhang Yi's situation wasn't particularly difficult, the Brahmin forces had indeed suffered heavy losses. The more Zhang Yi thought about it, the more he suspected something fishy was afoot. But not everyone was as well off as he, commanding multiple epsilon-level combatants. A single portion of the source of God was something the vast majority of factions in this world would stop at nothing to obtain. Zhang Yi shared this matter with Deng Shintong and the others. He could clearly see the intense eagerness in Uncle Yu and Fatty Su's eyes. Uncle Yu remained silent, but Fatty Su jumped up. "Boss! There's such a good thing? Those little Nordic countries really hit the jackpot finding the source of God. Why didn't it land on our doorstep? Why don't we go try our luck too?" Fatty Su was itching to act. The Fatty Su of today was a bona fide captain-level mutant. His ability code, Blizzard, was formidable, excelling in both single-target strikes and crowd control. Paired with Uncle Yu's close-quarters combat and firepower, they could deliver devastating results on the battlefield. No matter how carefree he appeared on the surface, deep down he harbored a competitive spirit. "No rush. Let's wait and see. I have a feeling this isn't as straightforward as it seems," Zhang Yi stated. Deng Shintong nodded in agreement. Maybe they just got lucky. You can't treat such good fortune as the norm. They didn't take this matter too seriously either. What Zhang Yi was watching for was the potential large-scale energy reaction event that could occur at any moment, the moment a demon god-class machine appeared. He knew that would be an even more precious spirit of sacrifice. But over the next 2 days, strange phenomena emerged, this time even making Zhang Yi nearly jump out of his seat. Influenced by Harlan and Namuro, an increasing number of mutant squads began undertaking missions with reckless determination. As they ventured into the digging zones of the Mechanical Legion, despite heavy losses, they made a startling discovery. Beneath the ground they excavated, they truly unearthed numerous treasures of immense value. 2 more mutant squads had unearthed the source of God. Or they uncovered energy entities of unknown origin to humans, yet undeniably possessing immense potency. Overnight, they forgot the terror the Mechanical Legion had instilled, succumbing to greed. It was as if their fallen comrades and acquaintances had never perished on the battlefield. Every morning at 9:30, they set out after dawn and returned around 3 p.m. as dusk approached. Even back at their quarters, sleep eluded them. Today's haul was immense, and thoughts of deploying every available soldier tomorrow, even summoning more mutant from the homeland to join the treasure hunt, kept them awake. Seeing their bountiful gains, Zhang Yi felt a stir of envy. Members of his Volt Shadow Troop also itched to join the fray. Yet all had undergone specialized training. Without Zhang Yi's command, none dared volunteer for battle. But the more restrained they remained, the more Zhang Yi sensed something amiss. Fatty Su found Zhang Yi and voiced his suspicion. "Boss, is there a possibility that the mechanical civilization's forces have already eliminated most incorrect answers? Now that they're nearing the correct solution, that's why they're continuously uncovering massive amounts of the source of God and mineral deposits." Zhang Yi gave Fatty Su a piercing look. "You're underestimating the mechanical civilization. A civilization capable of creating such powerful demon god mechas wouldn't bother with worthless scraps." Zhang Yi folded his arms, frowning. "I smell a rat. This feels like a bait and switch. They might have set a massive trap, waiting for the human mutant forces to walk right into it." At this point, Zhang Yi turned to Yang Xinxin for confirmation. "Xinxin, do you think I'm right?" A smart girl like Yang Xinxin would surely agree with his assessment. Yang Xinxin didn't pause her work. She was using the supercomputer Liu Karen had built for her, connecting to the remnants of the demon god Gui to conduct an invasion and decryption. Hearing Zhang Yi's question, she replied without looking up, "Not necessarily. Precisely because it looks too much like a bait, it seems suspicious." Zhang Yi asked in confusion, "What do you mean?" Yang Xinxin replied, "Our assessment of the mechanical civilization is that it possesses technology far surpassing humanity's. We've all witnessed this firsthand. Armies of overwhelming power, entirely forged from machinery, even transforming their very existence into formidable combat-type demon god machines. If they truly intended to annihilate the humans of Fremons, I doubt they'd need to go to such elaborate lengths." She glanced at Zhang Yi, her gaze clear and serene, like a still lake. Besides, Fremon's current population is only a few million, with just 3 major cities. Why would the mechanical civilization insist on annihilating them? Brother, would you find a few ant hills on the vast grasslands and pour boiling water into them? This analysis plunged Zhang Yi into deep thought. But if it wasn't to set a trap to lure the human mutant forces in for slaughter, what could their purpose be? Yang Xinxin paused her work. She too began to ponder. After a moment, she spoke up. Perhaps their goal is to recruit humans into their project. From start to finish, they never showed us their true faces. All their focus has been on searching for something underground. At this point, several people instinctively looked toward the distant ground of shadow space, where a massive black structure resembling a building lay. Lu Karen was still absorbing the spirit of sacrifice. Currently, all their efforts were focused on studying the demon god Gui, leaving no time to investigate what exactly the Black Chamber was. However, everyone felt this thing must be connected to the activities of the mechanical civilization. Is the mechanical civilization using us to find these things? With their advanced technology, why would they need our help? Zhang Yi followed Yang Xinxin's line of thought. Perhaps there are things they can't accomplish themselves. Yang Xinxin shrugged. Of course, this is just our speculation. After all, our intelligence gathering is severely lacking. As she spoke, she resumed her focused work decoding the circuit board of the demon god Gui. Apart from the energy core exhibiting lifeform reactions, every other component was mechanical. The operational principles of demon god Gui must align with other demon gods, at the very least sharing the same mechanical scientific framework. Thoroughly understanding this would benefit Zhang Yi in future battles against demon god constructs. I've decided to observe for a while longer. Once Karen successfully breaks through, we'll investigate what exactly is hidden in this black house. While Zhang Yi waited to see how things unfolded, many mutant groups across various nations were already raking in massive profits. However, some teams, like Zhang Yi's, remained in a state of observation. For instance, the Knights of the Round Table, the Knights Templar of the Eastern Orthodox Church, and the Natural Science Association of Colombia. These were large, established organizations. They wouldn't risk everything for mere profit. Though tempted, they could resist. Yet as time dragged on, watching other nations' extraordinary individuals reap substantial rewards, some began to lose their resolve. The so-called trap, it seemed, had yet to bear its fangs, luring humanity into ruin. Instead, it was the teams of mutant individuals who hesitated, delayed their actions, and thus missed numerous opportunities. Zhang Yi had already resolved to set his mind at rest, so he spent the following days waiting for Lu Karen to successfully break through. The leap in life's tier was a complex process, where every cell underwent an essential transformation, a liberation of vitality at the genetic level. A few days later, Lu Karen pushed open the door to her secluded room. Zhang Yi and the others were waiting outside for her. Lu Karen appeared no different from usual, yet everyone knew her too well to miss that something had indeed changed. Karen, how did it go? Zhang Yi approached her, his face full of concern. Lu Karen smiled brightly and nodded at Zhang Yi. I succeeded, brother. Cheers and congratulations erupted around them. That's fantastic, Karen. Congratulations. You've outpaced us once again. Zhang Yi asked, tell me, how far has your ability progressed now? The leap from Delta to Epsilon represented a completely different tier of life level, bringing earth-shattering changes to one's capabilities. Lu Karen said little, merely extending both hands before Zhang Yi. Her palms curved as if cradling something. A luminous white glow emanated from her palms. Soon, Zhang Yi watched in astonishment as she performed a miracle. From the originally empty air, a single grain of gold slowly materialized. The gold grew larger and larger, eventually forming a gold coin the size of a fingernail. Creation from nothingness? Zhang Yi took the coin in disbelief, holding it close to examine it. There was no doubt, its texture felt real. This was undeniably a gold coin. Deng Shintong spoke in confusion, this defies the fundamentals of physics. Creation from nothingness? How is that possible? That's clearly the power of a creator from myth and legend. Yang Xinxin, however, saw through it all at a glance. It's not creation from nothing. She pointed toward the area in front of Lu Karen and said calmly, it's merely gathering the free particles in the air, altering their particle structure, and rearranging them to form gold atoms. As she spoke, a look of satisfaction spread across Yang Xinxin's face. You're truly nearing the realm of the divine. The material structure of this world no longer exists before your eyes. Lu Karen laughed. I knew I couldn't hide it from you. You saw right through it. But honestly, altering particle states doesn't feel like such a big deal now. I feel ever greater reverence for the Creator who fashioned all things in this world. Her expression was utterly earnest. Over these past few days, remarkable transformations had occurred within her. Her newfound power made her acutely aware of her own insignificance. Zhang Yi knew Lu Karen had grown stronger, but just how powerful? He voiced his most pressing question, what exactly could Lu Karen accomplish now? Lu Karen replied to Zhang Yi, I can upgrade brother's weapons and armor to a level comparable to a demon god's body. That way, in the upcoming battles, at least brother won't be at a disadvantage in terms of weaponry. There's also another ability that looks powerful but is actually quite difficult to use. She gazed at her pale palm. My hands can now decompose any substance. In principle, everything before me, except living matter, will be reduced to particles. That means all defenses are useless against these hands. She looked at Zhang Yi with resignation. But I'm not exactly a combat type. So this ability is better suited for mechanical research. Lu Karen had gained a new ability, or rather, achieved tremendous advancement in the realm of divine machinist. If she wished, she could transform any known substance in the world. However, the amount of supernatural energy consumed varied based on the material's strength and size. From now on, she would never again worry about material shortages. If she desired, she could even extract substances from the air and convert them into rare materials. Lu Karen named this ability transformation from nothing. Zhang Yi remarked, looks like we're one step closer to building that super fortress. Next, Zhang Yi asked Lu Karen to help open that black house. The thing resembled a solid metal structure, yet Zhang Yi could sense it was hollow inside. Whatever lay within held a glimpse into the secrets of this civilization. He wanted to know what exactly the mechanical civilization had spent so much effort trying to find. Lu Karen nodded. She approached the black house, extending her hand toward one of its walls. In the next instant, the molecules of the black wall, forged from that special material, dispersed outward like ripples spreading from a pebble dropped into water. A circular doorway opened. Zhang Yi and the others cautiously stepped inside. Zhang Yi led the way, shielding everyone with the dimensional gate. To guard against toxic gases, they all donned tactical masks. The interior of the black house was surprisingly spacious, spanning 200 to 300 square meters. Zhang Yi and his companions entered with a sense of unease. According to analysis, the historical age of this black house exceeded human comprehension. This was a lost civilization. They were crossing the river of time, peering at traces of another civilization that had once existed. Everything within the black house appeared utterly novel. This was a civilization distinct from humanity's own. The room stood largely empty, with few remnants remaining. Perhaps they had vanished over the ages. Along the edges of the walls stood stone sculptures, each 30 to 50 centimeters tall. Stone had preserved them through the long passage of time. The carvings depicted animals and structures. Among them might be creatures from that era's civilization, though Zhang Yi couldn't tell which of the fox, dragonfly, or centipede-like forms had reigned supreme. The carving technique itself wasn't particularly refined. The group continued deeper into the room, finding only emptiness. Yang Xinxin scooped up a handful of dust from the corner and remarked, this place must have held so much, only to turn into the dust of history. Nothing humans create can withstand the erosion of time. Metal, concrete structures, electronic devices, books, all vanish in the blink of an eye within history. What remains, ultimately, are natural substances like stone. Yet immediately afterward, Zhang Yi and the others truly saw a massive stone. In the second room of the Black House, they discovered a peculiar statue. An oddly shaped chair bore a humanoid creature seated upon it. Both chair and figure had turned to stone. Zhang Yi couldn't tell if this was a special stone carving. Still, it offered a glimpse into this civilization. The humanoid creature was roughly 5 times the size of a human, bearing a striking resemblance to our species with its primate-like physique. Yet it possessed no tail, no hair, only a bald head topped with a pair of slightly elongated ears. Its eyes were proportionally smaller than those of a normal human. It resembled a deformed human. Is this a stone carving left by ancient people? But building such a large structure just to preserve these things seems pointless. Fatty Su spoke up, his voice filled with confusion. Zhang Yi gazed at the carving and replied calmly, "Fatty, if one day your world faced imminent destruction, if you and your civilization were about to vanish completely, wouldn't you want to preserve something to prove your existence and that of your civilization?" Fatty Su froze, picturing that scenario in his mind. A sudden chill washed over him, enveloping him from head to toe. Human civilization spans only a few thousand years, its developmental history barely a few 100,000. Such a span is but an instant in a planet's lifetime, yet they've left behind an immense legacy of history and culture. Imagine if one day, all traces of their existence vanished completely, no one would know they'd ever walked this earth. The mere thought evoked endless regret and dread. Zhang Yi remarked, "This might not be a mysterious place at all. Perhaps it was just a shelter built by ancient people who wanted to survive as long as possible before the end came, and leave behind some trace of themselves." But in the end, he failed. He left almost nothing behind. It doesn't seem that way. Deng Shintong approached the giant's feet, looked up at the colossal stone sculpture, and suddenly spoke. Zhang Yi glanced over. "What did you find?" Deng Shintong extended a finger, pointing to the giant's knees. There, the giant's hands cradled a pitch-black metal box. The box's material matched the outer walls, both made of corrosion-resistant substances. Zhang Yi retrieved the metal box. It was seamless, as if its owner believed that preserving the contents would suffice. Whoever reached this place someday would naturally find a way to open it. Zhang Yi handed the object to Lu Karen, gesturing for her to open it. This posed no difficulty for Lu Karen. She merely placed her hand upon it, and the particles of the box automatically dispersed to the sides, revealing its contents. It was a transparent crystal, seemingly made of quartz. As it emerged, a ray of light struck it, refracting into a strange array of colors. "What is this thing?" Zhang Yi took it out, holding it in his hand. It felt heavy, like a brick. But no matter how he looked at it, he couldn't discern anything unusual about it, nor could he sense any special energy. Yang Xinxin walked over and said, "I think it's probably a storage device. Similar to the hard drives we humans use. When a civilization faces its end, they'll find ways to preserve traces of their existence." "Brother, didn't you say that?" Zhang Yi stowed the object away, then thoroughly searched the entire Black House once more. He found nothing else. Finally, he handed the items to Lu Karen and Yang Xinxin, entrusting them with the research. Extracting sufficient information from it proved troublesome. Fortunately, Lu Karen had now advanced to Epsilon level, granting her more powerful and varied means to tackle the problem. Regarding the building material, Lu Karen quickly concluded it was a special substance crafted from stone. It possessed exceptional hardness, corrosion resistance, and resistance to weathering. Buried deep beneath the earth, it had preserved itself into this distant future. However, this material was only suitable for constructing storage vaults for precious objects. Its utility in other applications fell far short of other materials. Thus, in the end, the only real gain was that transparent module suspected to be a storage device. Zhang Yi instructed them to study it thoroughly. As for himself, he had no intention of lingering in Samaran City. He planned to seek out Prodaja and Morana to join the war against the mechanical civilization. But just then, news arrived from the front lines of the battlefield. The mutant forces of the Kingdom of Kermit, led by the god King Zeus, had been completely annihilated in the Southern Federation region. Upon seeing this news in the chat group, Zhang Yi's gaze instantly sharpened. The Kermit Kingdom's mutant beast army was only of second or third tier strength, with Zeus's power approaching that of the Black Chariot. Yet their complete annihilation could only occur when facing an exceptionally powerful mechanical life form. In other words, a demon god-class machine had appeared. Probadja's voice echoed through the chat group. Everyone, the true challenge has finally arrived. A demon god-level mech has reappeared. This signifies an extremely dangerous mission, yet it also represents a precious opportunity. The demon god that annihilated the Kermit Kingdom's mutant forces, codenamed Gung. Any mutant teams willing to engage may register with me. The previous meeting had decided that mission assignments must be coordinated between Fremons and other units, not directly assigned. After all, teams like Zhang Yi's feared Fremons might deliberately set them up. Though the chat group fell silent upon hearing this news, many hearts began to race. Especially among those powerful teams that had remained inactive, biding their time. Small fry could be spared, but the big sharks, those were their hunting targets. What of the danger? A successful hunt meant immense rewards. They had complete confidence in their strength. This was the moment they'd been waiting for. Zhang Yi didn't hesitate for a second. He headed straight for Fremon's military command center. Upon arrival, he spotted members of the Knights of the Round Table and Columbia's mutant agents present. Yet only Newton seemed engaged in talks with Probadja. Meanwhile, Brian the Labrador was wagging his tail, flirting with a female Fremon's officer. Sleazy dog. Zhang Yi muttered under his breath. But dog ears are sharper than human ones. Brian immediately turned, baring his teeth. Did I hear someone calling me names? Zhang Yi turned his head away. Not me. Brian rolled up his sleeves and walked up to Zhang Yi. If it wasn't you, why deny it? You're overthinking it. In human language, dog is just an insult used to refer to others. Brian pointed at Zhang Yi's nose. That's pure sophistry. In fact, back home, dogs are symbols of good luck. Zhang Yi pushed his paw away. Enough. You've got the energy to flirt with girls at a time like this. Do you even have that function? At those words, Brian's previously menacing expression suddenly relaxed, a faint, almost imperceptible smile curling his lips. Zhang Yi fell silent. It seemed he really did. Let's talk about this later. I need to see if there are any missions suitable for me to take. Zhang Yi walked past Brian to find Probadja, with Brian following close behind. Fine, I'll go take a look too. Entering Probadja's command center, they saw a group of military personnel standing at attention in uniform. These were Fremon's officers. The pantheon of Fremons, a few powerful mutants were present. Zhang Yi recognized Morana and Alexei, both in their gear. He immediately sensed the tense atmosphere. It seemed a sudden shift in the situation had caught them all off guard. Probadja stared intently at the three-dimensional sand table before him. Numerous locations on Fremon's grand map were marked with glowing points. Newton and King Arthur were present, and he even spotted the Cardinal from the Holy See. Noticing Zhang Yi's arrival, Probadja greeted him solemnly. Chaos, you're here. Come take a look. Suddenly, intense energy reactions are appearing across multiple locations. Those demon god units have mobilized. We must deploy forces to engage. As a bishop-level mutant, your team must prioritize these red targets. Zhang Yi's gaze swept across the display. He saw 5 locations flashing with blinding red light. Are demon god machines active in all these areas? Zhang Yi looked up and asked. Probadja nodded. Correct. Our satellite systems have detected them. As you've likely seen, the entire team of mutants from the Kingdom of Kermit has been wiped out. We now require greater strength to eliminate them. Zhang Yi studied the map closely. Each red dot clearly marked the location of a demon god machine. The 5 currently active units were designated Yi, Bing, Ding, Jin, and Gung. The earlier the code, the more powerful the demon god unit and the greater the danger faced, but also the greater the reward upon victory. So how should one choose? That was the big question. After a moment's thought, Zhang Yi said, I need to think this through carefully. Clearly, King Arthur and the others hadn't made up their minds either. Everyone was carefully weighing the pros and cons. With that, Zhang Yi exited the command center and stepped outside. He messaged Ling, instructing the intelligence system to send her the recent 3D image. Where do you think I should go? He asked. Ling was a mysterious woman. Her access to intelligence typically reserved for Fremon's inner circle suggested she was no ordinary figure. Zhang Yi wanted to hear her advice, perhaps she held crucial intelligence. After reviewing the data, Ling replied directly, if it were me, I wouldn't choose any of these options. Zhang Yi furrowed his brow. What do you mean? Are you suggesting these are all traps? Ling studied the 3D map from her side, her voice laced with languor. Only 5 demon gods have appeared so far. We can't pinpoint the others' locations yet. But judging by the strength of the 10 demon gods, I believe demon god Jia's location is the most critical. Zhang Yi countered, then do you know demon god Jia's strength? Ling shrugged. Just that it's powerful. My guess. Zhang Yi said, I understand. He knew which path to choose. At present, the true strength of these high-ranking demon gods remained unknown. Yet inaction meant squandering an opportunity. Therefore, the optimal strategy was to first test the waters against a mid-tier demon god, using that encounter to gauge the strength of demon god Jia. After this battle, if things went smoothly, he could consider his next move. Zhang Yi returned to the command center, where decisions had already been made. On the Fremon's side, Morana, the winter goddess, from the pantheon, stepped before the 3D sand table. Pointing to the location of demon god Yi, she declared, this is Fremon's. The most troublesome opponent is ours to handle. She emphasized, originally, I intended to wait for demon god Jia to appear before acting. But since he hasn't shown up, I'll deal with the demon god Yi first. You dare not touch A, so leave him for me to handle when I return. Upon hearing this, Prodaja glanced at Morana, his expression clearly reluctant to see her leave Samaran City. After all, Samaran City still needed her protection, and these formidable enemies were originally meant for Zhang Yi, King Arthur, and the others to handle. Morana merely glanced at Prodaja, who immediately held his tongue. He knew that once Morana made up her mind, no one could stop her. Zhang Yi raised an eyebrow, surprised by the woman's fierce resolve. But this suited him just fine, he'd let her test the waters first. King Arthur promptly accepted the task of defeating Bing. Zhang Yi's options were dwindling. He ultimately decided to take on Ding.